Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tour. Back again with you guys for another episode of the Arsenal Transfer Show. Joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas Eve. Hope you're having a great week. And of course, you've made it to the weekend, a special weekend indeed. Saturday, Christmas Eve, Sunday, Christmas Day. And Monday is Arsenal Day as Arsenal return to play West Ham United in the Premier League as well. Good morning, everybody joining us in the chat box. Good morning to Matt G, Rocky, Blackshine, Olu, our classic four quartet joining us first. Kaiser, Stevie, Jose, Paul, Amira, Lee. Good morning. Stephen, Harvey, Billy, Odurile. We've got Bradley. We've got Viraj. We've got Franklin, Nyamdi as well. Good morning, Vivian. Francois, our Christmas Santa Claus himself, giving it all out the memberships to 50 random people the other day. Very grateful indeed. Matt Fox, good morning to you. Good morning to Steve. Good morning to Nitish. Good morning to Tom and Billy and Daniel as well. Hope you've had a fantastic weekend. I think I saw a message from Daniel. Says, Tom, can you give a shout out to my boy Theo? It's his 6th birthday today. Theo, I hope you have a fantastic birthday. And if you are indeed going to be enjoying the festivities and Arsenal, that we can bring home the points for the family. Otherwise, your dad's not going to be happy. And you don't want your dad unhappy on Boxing Day. So fingers crossed we can see the Boxing Day points secured to save the birthday weekend. So let's give a quick shout out indeed, of course, to people joining us in the chat box who say, I like Amira. Don't forget to hit that like button, everyone. The simplest Christmas gift you could give Tom today, indeed. Please do hit that like button. You can get yourself a potential Christmas gift as well by getting involved in, of course, the latest football prize, as I say, running until Tuesday is a signed Granit Xhaka and signed Thomas Partey shirt display. 2 signed shirts on display, framed, custom framed, LED lights. It all lights up and everything. £9.95 a ticket. 99 tickets are available now. 28 tickets have been sold. So still a great chance to win this one if you want to get involved. And a real great chance to potentially win a very fantastic prize indeed. Let's move to our first story. As I told you about yesterday, we recorded yesterday our preview for Arsenal against West Ham United. Martin Odegaard, of course, being one of the key players talked about by our guests. I was joined by Ojo and Josh and Jared to talk all through things. It was a bit of a chaotic preview show, to be honest. Things were flying about all over the place, but we managed to get through it and brought you all of the latest thoughts on the game for Boxing Day. So if you haven't already given that a watch, it is the last upload on the channel before this one. David Moyes has confirmed that Scamacca and Antonio are not yet potentially going to be available. He says, I'm not sure if they're going to be available yet. Gianluca's got an ankle injury. Mick's got a bit of a calf strain. So we're hoping that they've got a good chance. But I think they're both doubtful. I think all the clubs in the Premier League, you never know who is fit and available from who has returned yet from the World Cup. And of course, they've got Jarrod Bowen, who can play from the middle. We know that. He asked about Jarrod Bowen and potential cover. He says, yeah, I do think we have cover. I think Jarrod's more than capable in terms of him playing through the middle. I do think Jarrod's more than capable if we need to do so. Over the last few years since we've changed Marko Arnautovic from a wide player into a centre forward, we've done a little bit with the same with Mykhaylo Antonio. So who's to say it won't be Jarrod who is next? So it could be that Jarrod Bowen starts up top for West Ham in Monday's game. So there you go. Lovely stuff. Moving forwards, and Zinchenko has been talking about his previous 6 months at Arsenal and talking about the situation right now with Gabriel Jesus. He says he's one of the leaders of our team. He's a true warrior. I have no doubts he'll be back much stronger than before, knowing him personally and knowing his character. As a team, we need to stick together. He was then asked about Eddie Nketiah potentially stepping up, and he says, I have no doubts that Nketiah is going to do his job amazingly and everyone trusts him. We have such a great group of people and we have this feeling of togetherness. If you want to read the full interview, it is, of course, on the Arsenal website. Now, Arsenal are reportedly planning on activating the 2-year option in Charlie Patino's contract. Charlie Patino Arsenal are hopeful of signing a new deal with the player, of course. That has not yet been possible, but thankfully the planning behind the previous contract meant that they added a 2-year deal. So that means it will extend through until 2025. It means we'll get 2 more seasons from Patino at least. I imagine that this is going to be kind of a process whereby we're looking to convince him of a pathway into the Arsenal first team in the years to come. And to do that, of course, if you extend by those 2 years, it means that you can show him that pathway and then you can get him to sign a brand new deal. Now, there is interest, as we know, from Spain and Barcelona in particular, but Arsenal have still plenty of control in this deal for Charlie Patino, and we'll be hoping to convince him of a pathway into the team and then get him signed up to a new long-term contract for the future. Now, into transfers, and Arsenal are said to be tracking Juve youth centre-back Dean Huijsen, the Dutch two-footed centre-back, only in his teens still and playing for Juve's under-19, 17 years of age. He's played now a number of times in the Primavera, 8 times with 3 goals from centre-back. And in the UEFA Youth League as well, 6 games and 3 goals from centre-back. He scores a decent amount of goals. 6 goals in 14 games as a centre-back is kind of ridiculous. He's 6'4" in height. As I say, you can use both feet. Arsenal are looking at potential centre-backs. They want to reinforce their area, maybe in the summer more so than in January. But there is a feeling with the Evan and Ndicka links that we've seen as well, that I think that there is a good chance Arsenal may look to bring in a centre-back either this winter, which I think is more unlikely, or more likely they'll look to bring in a left-sided centre-back in the summer. As I say, he is right-footed, but I've done a bit of reading on him this morning, and it's claimed that he is no weaker on his left than he is his right. And we do know how Mikel Arteta likes a two-footed player to get them through a season. Now, Real Valladolid have reportedly put a 15 to 20 million euro price tag on Fresneda, Ivan Fresneda, the 18-year-old right back. I tweeted about this yesterday and said, I thought this was kind of mad, considering the fact he's played 6 La Liga games, and that's it this season. And all of a sudden, he's worth 15 to 20 million euros. It's a lot of money. Lukonga played a lot of games before we paid a similar price tag to that. Right, Nuno Tavares, of course, came in for around 7 million quid. It's a lot of money for an 18-year-old in a position where you've already got Ben White, Tommy Asu, and at present still Cedric, and of course Rule Waters and Brooke Norton-Cuffy coming through. It is a bit of an odd one that he's worth that amount of money, but if Valladolid have got the players, have got the teams interested, the market tends to dictate the price. So I guess that is a big reason as to why we're seeing these kind of figures associated with Fresneda. Moving forward to our penultimate story, and reports continue to suggest that Mykhaylo Mudryk will still indeed cost that massive, massive fee in the region of 100 million euros. Now, Ben Jacobs has been talking about this to Give Me Sport. He says the feeling of all the people in the industry is that Arsenal know how special this guy can become in the next few years. At the moment, I don't see them signing a player for 100 million euros in that position, such a striker, because Gabriel Jesus' injury is more serious than expected. But then in 2 to 3 months, he will be available. Fabrizio Romano added on Give Me Sport, he says Shakhtar insists on 100 million euros. Arsenal have a feeling that at the end of the story, Shakhtar could maybe accept 60 to 65 to find the right package to include maybe some add-ons. For sure, he remains one of the priorities for Arsenal. Of course, we heard from Mikel Arteta that Arsenal are going to be active, quote, active, during this January transfer period, whatever that means, whatever it turns out to be. Hopefully, it's something very, very good. And in terms of signing plenty of quality into the team, because that's the main and important thing about that window, is that we sign quality to this squad. And finally, a very, very significant story regarding Joao Felix. The Portuguese international supposedly now is available on loan. This report comes from Duncan Castles, who says Arsenal's interested in signing Joao Felix. Man United are considering Felix as a replacement for Ronaldo, whose contract was terminated by mutual consent ahead of the World Cup finals. Discussions with Arsenal are understood to be more advanced at present. And furthermore to this, they were saying that a loan move would be valued at around 8 million euros to sign Joao Felix without an option to buy or without an obligation to buy, but an 8 million euro loan fee for Joao Felix between now and the end of the season. For me, that's an absolute no-brainer. Like, absolutely go and do that. You can sign Mudryk, you can sign your midfielder if you want them. And on top of that, you can bring in another quality forward for the rest of the season. I don't need an option. I don't need an obligation, because to be honest, the amount of money being associated with Joao Felix anyway is kind of crazy. We didn't need an option when we signed Martin Ødegaard, and we managed to get him on a permanent deal still. Having a player at the club to experience kind of all of those things as well is I think something that will help in the future. If Arsenal wanted to sign him, he would have already been playing with us, integrating into the team, working with the team, working under Arteta, and that can be really helpful when it comes to convincing a player to sign in the future. We don't need necessarily an option or an obligation included in this deal, and any obligation or option is going to probably be a ridiculous figure anyway. But an 8 million loan for him is really, really strong. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this turns out to be an accurate piece of reporting, and that obviously we see a move for a striker brought in the winter, because it would be such a boost to the team to have someone like Joao Felix available for the last 6 months or so of the season as we push towards, who knows, a potential title. Of course, we would have to cover all of his wages, says Akmal, and they do total upwards of £200,000 per week. He is a very expensive player to bring in. 6 months on £200,000 per week. Well, if it was that's probably around 10 million in wages, is it not? So yeah, it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you a lot, or maybe less than that. No, it is less than that. 2.5 million, I think it is. I'm going to do some quick maths on my calculator just to make sure I've got that right. So if there's 52 weeks in a year, 26 for 6 months times 200,000, that would be 5.2. Okay. So hold on. Did I just do it times 52? I did. No, I didn't. I'm going mad. My brain's not working this morning. 5.2 million on top of that 8 million. So you're looking at a 30 million whole package for Joao Felix for 6 months. I know it sounds a lot, but you don't tend to put wages into things either. If his wages are significantly higher than that 200,000, you're looking at being around 7 million for his wages on top of the 8 million loan fee. It's going to be expensive, but let's be honest, the potential reward at the end of the season is going to be significantly more than what we pay Atleti to get him on loan for the forthcoming season. So that for me is still a very good deal for Arsenal to do. It's risk-free. I know it's money, and there's a bit of money on top of that. But to be honest, Arsenal aren't going to sign anyone. Anyone you do sign is going to be able to give us enough quality until the end of the season. It's going to cost you a significant amount in wages or in a transfer fee anyway. So I don't think it's too much of a problem anyway. Anyway, let's move to part 2 and your questions right after this. Okay, let's jump into the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Francois says, no way a player has to come to AFC, prove their worth in order to earn such wages. Unfortunately, that's just not how things work, Francois. Players on certain wages at other clubs, they won't drop. It's very rare you see them drop down in their wage bracket. So if they're already on that amount of money elsewhere, that is how much money Arsenal would probably have to end up paying. They might be able to negotiate it down to a more reasonable figure, but I very much doubt it when you're dealing with loan deals. Aoife says, isn't it wages for the weeks that he's here? Yeah, of course it would be. Of course it would only be the wages for the weeks that he's here. We wouldn't have to pay it outside of that at all. Amira says, when was the last time we promoted an academy defender? I don't recall us having much luck in that department recently. It's a good question. I'm trying to think back to like previous players that we've seen come through the ranks in any of those positions, even a goalkeeper. You think back to Emi Martinez as the most recent one, Szczesny before that. But in defence, it's a great point. I don't remember thinking of any youth defenders making it through. So it could be a first if indeed we do see some of the current crop come through. I'll tell you, in his interview, Jamie Carragher talked about how, that centre-back is the hardest position to play. So often what you see, I think, is clubs going out and buying those players because developing them is just so much harder. Nathish says, hey, Tom, question. If Saliba is not available, who would be at right centre-back? Will be Tommy as centre-back and White as right-back, or White as centre-back and Tommy as right-back, or Holding and White? I think it will be Holding and White. I think Holding has played, obviously, all of the games across mid-season break. And because of that, it would be Holding because he's more fresh. He's ready to go. He's in the feel of playing. Tomiyasu hasn't played any games so far. And because of that, I think it would be White at right back and Holding at right centre back. If Saliba's fit, I think he comes straight back in. Tomiyasu, they're being very, very careful with and trying to get him back. G-Dog says, what's this about McAllister? I love how many people spell McAllister's name wrong and genuinely think it's McAllister. It's Mac, M-A-C, space, Alistair. So many people spell it wrong because they just think it's McAllister. It is Mac, M-A-C, space, Alistair. Genuinely is Argentinian. Are we really looking at him? I'd be very surprised if we're not looking at him. I think every club on the planet is probably having some kind of interest in him after his World Cup exploits. He's a very versatile player, can play attacking midfield, defensive midfield, centre midfield, can play in a wide position, can play up front if you wanted him to. He's played in all of these areas for Brighton. He's a very, very good player indeed and would be a very, very welcome addition to the Arsenal squad, I think, if Arsenal were to go and get him. But of course, it was going to be a very expensive deal after his World Cup exploits, and Brighton are going to ask for a big fee. Remember, this isn't about getting bogged down about a World Cup performance. McAllister had been doing really well at Brighton before the World Cup, so certainly worth keeping an eye on. Tom says, about Mudryk's price tag, would you say that we could negotiate it down to an acceptable level by offering a box full of our epic away kits in the deal? Tom, I don't think we'd need to offer any money, mate. I mean, they're so rare these days, the Arsenal away kits, the black one. They're arguably worth more than that price tag we're talking about with Mudryk at this moment in time. They are gold dust, and in every sense of the word, are genuine gold dust. Bellerin, Gibbs, Johan Juru are the suggestions from the chat box. Bellerin, of course, was signed from Barcelona. Didn't necessarily come through the academy, but did play at youth level. Kieran Gibbs, I'm interested to remember Kieran Gibbs' history at the club. Let's have a quick check on that one. Kieran Gibbs came through the youth academy at Wimbledon to 2004, then joined Arsenal's youth academy in 2004, which was how many years ago? 18 years ago. So he was 15 years of age when he joined Arsenal from Wimbledon, and then developed through for 3 years at Arsenal before getting into the first team. Johan Juru, let's have a quick check on Johan Juru's history. These people did come through the academy. Hale End is slightly different, of course. It's not like they were signed as 8-year-olds. Johan Juru came through at Étoile Carouge Academy and then came to Arsenal in 2003. So that was, 19 years ago. So he was 16 when he joined Arsenal and then broke through in 2004 and then got his first senior appearance for Arsenal as well. Some really good suggestions there in the chat. Ashley Cole is probably the best one I think that we've got in terms of a player that joined, I think, when they were much, much younger. Having a quick check. Yeah, he joined Arsenal's academy in 1997. That was 25 years ago. To be fair, he was still 17, according to this, when he came through. But he might have been at Arsenal's academy before that, to be fair. Yeah. Oh, no, he says Cole started his career joining his local club, Arsenal, whom he had supported as a child at the age of 18. That's interesting. That's interesting. So, actually, Kieran Gibbs, Johan Juru, and Hector Bellerin all started their Arsenal careers before Ashley Cole in terms of age. So that's very interesting indeed. Didn't know that. Unless the information is wrong, because it doesn't have any kind of youth career information before that. So unless he was there before, I'd be interested to know if that's the case. But there you go. Let's scroll up and go for a few more. Jordan says, morning, Tom and TGT viewers. Wanted to find out your opinions on our alleged interest in Robert Renan, the Corinthians left centre-back. Yes, he's been linked to the club before, and I actually wrote a piece about Robert Renan, doing a little bit of research into him. Comparatively to Gabriel, I did a piece looking at kind of the statistical comparisons between Robert Renan and Gabriel. In fact, if I get that article up, here we go. Arsenal transfer target holding his own with Gabriel is the piece that I wrote. So, in fact, I can probably share my screen with you. That's the easiest way to do this, to give you some information. I usually do kind of these Y Scout pieces if you're interested in that type of thing. Here we go. So, yes, tends to play left centre-back, as you can see in this piece here. And it's very much well on the ball. Against Fortaleza, Renan had 17 pass combinations, which was the fourth highest in the side, and 19 with his fellow centre-half Robson Bamboo, which was the second highest in the team. He is very well trusted when on the ball and was involved in several passing combinations when they played former West Ham defender in combinations with former West Ham defender Fabian Balbuena, if you remember him. Defensively, Renan competes in more defensive duels per 90 than Gabriel, 4.21 to 3.44, although the senior man is winning more of them, Gabriel winning 63.4 compared to Renan's 56. So the piece is there. I'll leave a link to it in the comment section if you want to go and give that a read on, find out a little bit more about Robert Renan. But yeah, he seems quite good for his age. I know he's coming through in obviously Brazil and the level is significantly different, but it'd be unsurprising if Arsenal were indeed one of the teams that are very much looking at him. We've been linked to him over a few period of not just weeks, but more than months now. So I'm sure he is one of the players that is on the radar. Arasilki has said, I've read that Balogun will not be recalled from his loan. I'm not surprised. I reported this earlier in the month when Jesus first, or actually in December when Jesus first, so this month when Jesus first got injured. I reported that he did indeed have that recall clause in his contract, but that I would be surprised if Arsenal did indeed recall him because he's just doing so well out in France. Gabenga says 200k plus is about 4.8 million for 6 months, plus the 8 million loan fee equates to around 12 to 13 million. Signing Joao Felix on a 6-month loan is a no-brainer and it's risk-free. I'm waiting for the Cronkies to prove how serious / ambitious they are. As I said before, it's all about making sure that we find the players that are worthy of the quality. Mohammed says, hi Tom, I told you weeks ago that we should take Felix on a loan and you said, why would Atletico, remember not Atletico, will agree a loan move, never say never in transfers. I asked the question because I'm genuinely curious. I don't know why they would do that. Why would they just accept a loan deal without any kind of option or obligation to buy? It seems as though they feel as though maybe they can get a financial reward from that. I didn't say never. I just said, why would they do that? So yes, very true. Never say never. But it's always important to question because I just could not work out for the life of me why it would happen. It still might not. We'll have to wait and see. This is, of course, just a report coming from Duncan Castles at the moment. We'll have to wait and see if it turns out to have truth within it. Mix says 3am here in New Jersey. I'm going to guess that is. Nice to catch you live, Tom. Always catch you when I walk my dog at the AM. That's a ridiculously early time, Mix, to be walking your dog at 3 a.m. Fair enough. Commitment to the cause. Sam says, if Juve come in with a good bid for Gabriel, would you sell him in January or wait till the summer? No. Gabriel is very much a part of the Arsenal fabric, and I don't want him going anywhere. Tulip says, hypothetically, which one would you choose in the next 5 years? 3 Premier Leagues, 1 Europa League, or 1 Premier League and 1 Champions League? Great question. 3 Premier Leagues and 1 Europa League. Yes, we haven't won the Champions League, but I'm not going to trade 3 Premier League titles and dominance like that and 1 Europa League for just 1 Champions League. Plus, after that period of 5 years, if we've won 3 Premier Leagues and 1 Europa League, I think we should be really well placed to go on and win the Champions League, surely, in the next 5 years. So, yeah, absolutely, Tulip, 3 Premier League titles without a shadow of a doubt. Francois says, Tom, wait a minute, what's your wish for next year, 2023? It's a good question. What is my wish? My wish is to lose a bit of weight, to be more motivated and commit to do some more exercise. That's more of a personal one. I've got an announcement coming out on Boxing Day, which kind of relates to a situation which actually kind of is part of the wish that's kind of come true for 2023. But in regards to Arsenal, of course, it is going to be that we win the title. Has to be that we win the title in 2023. Fingers crossed. Stephen says, I'm not sure that paying 13 million is risk-free. Come the summer, clubs will try and take the mick again. Man United find themselves in a similar position. Any player sold to Man U is 20 million over their value. I think that a 13 million loan for Joao Felix is nothing. I think it's nothing. And considering his price tag is like 80 to 100 million odds anyway, and that's going to be a 5-year deal. If you think about it that way, if you sign Joao Felix, say 100 million, that's his price tag, right? And you sign him on 100 million. I'm doing lots of maths this morning. This ain't good. Divided by 5, that's 20 million a year, right? So you divide that by 2 and you get to 10 million. That's a 6-month. So you're playing slightly over the valuation of the player, including his wages. Remember, that's not including his wages, actually. So you're arguably paying less than his valuation in terms of a transfer fee to get him on a 6-month loan. And to the end of the season, you're getting him on a slight discount compared to his price. So I think that makes sense. Clive joining us in the chat box. On Felix, Atletico. It's literally my biggest pet peeve in football when people call Atletico Madrid. It's so annoying. Only because I know Atleti fans that get annoyed. In the same way that I know Athletic Club fans that get really annoyed when people call their team Athletic Bilbao. That's not their name. Their name is Athletic Club. It's to say I get really, really annoyed. It's such a pet peeve. It's so irrational and pathetic, I know, but it's so rational. On Felix, Atletico Madrid want him in the Premier League to boost his value. Absolutely, Clive. That is the reason why. No one's coming in and paying for him at 100 million. But my kind of view was that while they were still playing in Europe and still trying to fight in La Liga, that why would they allow one of their bigger assets to leave on loan if they weren't able to bring in a replacement? Surely they would have to bring in a replacement at this stage. Christopher says, Tom, you're going places, mate. Think we all know it. Thanks, mate. You deserve it. You could be the main reporter for the Arsenal. Wow, that would be hell of a thing. I always kind of looked at, working at Arsenal. I'm not sure how it would work out because I can be really critical, and I hope that Arsenal would be open to having people that are critical. I don't know. I've never really known anyone to work at the club and report back on that in recent times. But yeah, it's always important that I think you allow criticism. So that's why I think sometimes working outside of the club allows you to be more critical, I guess. And I think criticism and evaluation is important. Very happy where I am, Christopher. DeAndre Brown says, also, since when do we include wages into a loan move? If we buy him for 80 to 100 million and we still have to pay him? All the time. Wages are typically included at a certain kind of percentage. Sometimes it can be none of it. Sometimes it can be 50% of it, 80% of it. Sometimes it can be 100% of it. Think about the Nicola Pepe deal. He's on loan at Nice. We're paying, I think, about 30% of his wage that he was on at Arsenal. Nice are paying another 30% of his wage that he was on at Arsenal. And the rest of it, Pepe is completely waived. He took a 30%-ish pay cut to go to Nice. And we're paying the other 30% or 33%, and Nice are paying the other 33%. So there you go. Madmiaz says Mudryk might need a lot of development for the Premier League, but Felix and Vlahovic are ready. But Felix gets injured too quickly. For me, Vlahovic is just a lost cause. I don't really have any interest in that style of forward coming in at the moment. I like having the option to bring in an Atleti forward in Joao Felix as well. Yomi says, Tom, the H is silent in Atletico. Try it. Just winding me up now. This is ridiculous. Viraj says, here's a list of Tom's pet peeves. Atletico Madrid, Mac Allister, and yes, my name being said wrong over and over again. GGT for you says, morning, Tom. Can you please wish my boy Shaqiri a happy birthday? He turned 7 yesterday. It would make his day. Yeah, happy birthday, Shaqiri. Is he named after the Swiss footballer? I'm curious. Very curious. Great name, if so. Fantastic. Shivam says, isn't Felix another Havertz? I mean, stylistically, they're very kind of different profiles in terms of their physicality and what they can provide. Positionally, I guess you look at them both as kind of second strikers more than anything. That can play in wide positions. So I guess positionally they're pretty similar, but from their physical profile, they're quite different. I think Felix suits what kind of a more similar to Jesus than what Havertz is. So there you go. Sam says, and don't forget, Tom also loves Leno. I don't mind Leno at all. I don't know where this has come from. I don't know why this feeling I don't like Leno is. I just think that he was never going to be the goalkeeper that we needed because he didn't possess the distribution skills. I don't think that's that bad of a thing, is it? Surely not. Mohammed says, happy birthday, Tom and Gooners. Question, how happy/unhappy will you be if we go for Thuram, Tielemans, Danilo and Dika in January? It would be around 60 million. So good value for money and would secure 3 separate kind of positions. I don't think I'd be disappointed. I think I'd be quite amazed that we'd signed 4 players, but I think I'd be a bit underwhelmed that we didn't bring in the quality forward that we needed Thuram. I like him. But, I look at someone like Mudryk as a real talent, something really special. The same way I kind of look at the potential to bring in someone like Joao Felix as well as being someone who's quite special and fits what we're doing. I'm not sure that Thuram fits. It's just something. I'm just not sure he fits. But Danilo, I don't think it's going to happen. Tielemans could, maybe. And Nketiah is obviously not a January deal. It's one for the summer when you can sign him on a free transfer. Clive says, Felix has the brain to play for Arsenal. We won't accept dumb players who upset our cohesion. That's why I can't sign for Arsenal. No dumb players at the club. Nabil says, was letting Emi Martinez go a mistake? No, very happy with Ramsdale. Byron says, Leno is a great shot stopper, but he doesn't command his box. He's slow off the line and his distribution leaves a lot to be desired. DeAndre Brown says, I think a Felix loan is the perfect solution. Similar to Jesus, doesn't create a log jam of investments as if we bought a Vlahovic, and Dusan wouldn't be happy moving to sit on the bench. And Clive says, I agree with you, Tom, on Thuram. I'm not feeling it. And when you look at the other French Bundesliga forwards, Nketiah Muani, I like him a lot more. And Clive is the person that kind of first nudged me to say, start looking at Nketiah Muani. I wrote a piece on him. I'm trying to set the ball rolling, Clive. But he's a player that I liked when watching back through Wisecout and plenty of his clips. We're going to round things off there. Thank you so much for listening. This is the last live show. Of course, tomorrow morning on Christmas Day, you will be getting a Christmas special with myself, Sophie, Mike, and Lee Judges. So do tune in for that at 8 a.m. That will still come out at 8 a.m. And then on Boxing Day, there'll be another show for you. As I say, there's an announcement video coming on Boxing Day at 8 a.m. once again. And then I'll be back on the 27th in the morning to round off all of the transfer news from both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Boxing Day. I don't know how much transfer news is going to drop over these 3 days because obviously they're not particularly busy usually in the world of transfers, but maybe we'll be proven wrong. I hope if you're indeed celebrating, have a fantastic Christmas Day tomorrow. Enjoy it. Have great time with family and friends if you can. And of course, just try and make it as good of a day for yourself as possible. And just try not to think about the Arsenal on Boxing Day and the nervousness that will come with that. We can save that. We can bury that. We can ball all of that up until Boxing Day. Of course, if there is that I can do a show in the evening after the game, I'll try. If not, of course, the reaction to that game will come on the 27th. But I think maybe, fingers crossed, hopefully, might be able to do the business after the game on Sunday. That said, I think I might be working pretty late, but we'll see. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Drop a like on the video, of course. Subscribe to the channel. Go watch the preview for the West Ham game. And as always, up the Arsenal.